Hello, welcome to Jade Kind Gaming. My name is Adam, here with another of my Dwarven Forge build examples video. Got some builds of Dwarven Forge, using little props, not only from, say, Dwarven Forge itself, but from, like, WizKids, or some even, like, maybe, Reaper stuff that I've painted up, or just whatever I can get. But just giving some ideas of real builds I've used in my actual games that will probably at some point get featured over on Jade Kind Gaming Presents The Observatory. But just to kind of show off, how I've built some things, give some ideas, inspiration, whether you pull ideas directly from the build, from the encounter design, whatever. Just kind of hoping to inspire you by the things that I have built. I'm going to start here with this little kind of tavern build that I have. So first off to note, the corner posts are facing outwards because this is an interior focused build. I have a street here, and the street ended up having a little combat when the players snuck back later, but the original idea with it is I had this, there's 3 chairs at every table, and then I had just one spare empty chair, and that's where the party ended up going, kind of crowding around this table. I don't want to waste my batteries in there, but these all light up, little Dwarven Forge tables. So the whole point was the party ended up in here in the corner, could just as well do in this corner, and the bar is full, and they've gotten in there in a RP encounter, just talking about being invited in for some gambling and some drinks, and it's while they're already in there that they realize that this whole tavern is working together. They're a group, they're a club, they're a demon cult, whatever it may be. One of those. And that they are now kind of trapped. And so really this is, they can try and fight their way out, but some of them are drugged from the drinks, and so are they leaving their friends? Are they fighting the outnumbered battle? Whatever they want, but it's a little encounter here for those that didn't fail the con save for the drink. And otherwise, it's just a little tavern decoration. Easy enough, can be any tavern encounter. Some tables, some chairs, a bar, some stuff behind it, and a trapdoor. So that, when we get to the session where they wake up in the jail, they get this, which turns out to be connected once they make their way out through the ladder. But they have a little, jail where they're all trapped, or they have one of the little plugs from reliquaries, which lets me put a pull accessory anywhere. So if I wanted to chain them up using the Dwarven Forge chains pull accessory, you can do that too. But otherwise, yeah, I have little chests over here where their stuff got stashed. Lots of barrels of ale and some fruit crates and stuff like that. But, a little statue to some sort of gargoyle. But this is an area where the cultists can come down, sit on a barrel and talk to them, try and get the information out of them they want. But once the party breaks out, they can find themselves back in that bar as before. So, little encounter bar setup that uses Dwarven Forge bars and such, as well as I think the keg from, I want to say that's WizKids, a couple WizKids kegs, a lot of Dwarven Forge tables and barrels, and mixing barrels, because some barrels are WizKids. I want to say some are the ooze chests turned upside down. This one I feel like might be one of the Reaper Bones barrels that got painted, but just by using all different variety from all different sources, you end up with a little stack of, barrels and kegs and such that looks all mismatched, each one's from a different place, different alcohols, etc. So, yeah. Just a fun little encounter built on a couple little terrain trays. And that brings us over to Encounter 2 to show off. Very different. That one was all cities, using, some cobblestone and Tudor. This one is all escarpments. Well, there is one cavern piece. So, the idea behind this one is that your characters have to climb the mountain. They're trying to climb a mountain, and there's switchback paths to make it where they can do it, and low, steps here to try and get towards the top where they're out getting away, basically. But or they could try climbing the sheer cliffs with higher DCs. But at the beginning of this part of the path is this nest. And this nest is from the Caverns Deep, I think. Whatever, it's like the whole floor and the nest there. And because it covers most of the floor, you can't really tell that this is technically a different paint color than this. It doesn't really matter. So this can be, maybe it's like an elemental bird, like a lightning phoenix, or maybe it's just like a giant eagle. Regardless, some sort of creature that's territorial. They don't want to leave the nest unattended, so once the players get far enough away, they're good. But they will defend it if they think something is after their eggs. And maybe their eggs are some sort of phoenix eggs and really valuable. But otherwise, it's really just an encounter of, do they try and steal the eggs? If they steal the eggs, maybe they're chased for further. But maybe the danger convinces them to leave those eggs behind. But it is a lot of just, whether escarpment floors in various sizes here to fill up some space. The 1x3s, ever valuable. A few spots here. I have a concave filling out some space there, and this is a large concave area, or convex, with the backfills for stone. Then another concave up here, with this little piece here. So it's clearly, this is terrain tray on stilts, pushing it up against there. And then this is on here to use just a big beefy piece that, it makes a weird edge there, but at that point they're leaving the encounter. I didn't care. That's there. And this is here with some stilts below it. I'm using this piece to hold this stuff at the right height. And other than that, we got a couple of stilts on a smaller terrain tray that is filling this to hold these pieces up. And just kind of filling in the space there as we go to make it work. So just kind of stacking up to get the elevation so it feels like they gotta ascend the mountain. And our third build is a temple that is within a mountain cave. I use this as the Temple of Winged Beasts, which was basically an excuse for the party to get the level of which the druid started being able to become flying creatures. So first, just to show off the build and sort of my encounter idea, I entered in with a little cavern, or I guess a big cavern room with the dragon, and lots of just treasure on the floor. Because the party was not quite high enough level for the dragon I put them against, they actually came into a sleeping dragon. Great way to make a big old creature a lot easier for a party to beat is if they get the first strike. As long as they can be stealthy enough not to wake it up, they can all go into position and be ready for an attack. Then there is a hole to drop down into a chamber. gargoyles. I had the gargoyles basically not attack, not be as if they were statues, basically. Which is an option. Gargoyles are a great creature to throw in for the like trying to get the party an extra combat if they need it, if they need to be weakened up, softened up, but they can just stay statues if you don't feel like that's what the party needs once you actually get there. Then there is a doorway here that leads to a hallway that leads to a room that actually didn't have all the creatures out when they got here. There's a whole series of pressure plates, and basically it is a bunch of secret doors here and here that make like an airlock and will open if someone is coming towards them from this way, but close as people go away from them. It's basically trying to lock them in this room. They find that there is like the shattered remains of some sort of containment pod in this corner. The dragon. But that 3 containment pods are releasing their creatures now. I have the giant column in here to say, like, this is an 80-foot tall room. So these creatures, while small in space, have a lot of height to fly around. And just sort of an interesting combat where the party has an enclosed area where they're fighting flying creatures. Once they've defeated them, they can get the key to open this secret door that goes to this room, and then the sealed door where they find whatever the magical incantation to come into empty room. Except if they look up, there is a hole in the ceiling that they have to ascend in order to get to the room that has the actual whatever information that the druid needs to learn how to fly, and therefore get the whole party to level. There you go. So, a lot of the dungeon build itself is very basic. Just sort of, walls, corners, floors. Use the magnetic corners for a different corner look in this room. I have the daises here just as a raised platform. But the caverns, I certainly did some things to make work. Obviously, there's this treasure from Dwarven Forge and a bit from WizKids there. But like I didn't for just flat floors, I didn't have enough. So these two are sitting on top of one of the dungeon floors. Just a flat floor that they completely cover enough that you don't really see that. Same with all of this, like this whole train tray is sitting on top of the dungeon to hold it up. There's no stilts, it's just on the dungeon. Then I have little, again, one of the dungeon floors to hold up this, just to fill in this side wall here. Again, more of them. If you look under all of these, I just have dungeon floors underneath supporting this whole little escarpment area that is all made of the cavern escarpments, like the little cavern cliffs, I guess they're called, and the matching trifecta bits to make them one floor higher to match up with this. I just used these stalagmites to make sort of a makeshift wall at the end here. And once that's all together, I have the raising bit here, and it just sort of makes it look like the wall carries up, even though really it's the same height as the top of the base to the Stairway to Violence. I put this was crucial. The pillar there, just giving the party some cover from a dragon. But yeah, otherwise, normal, just rest of it's normal cavern stuff. Corners, walls, trifecta. But yeah, definitely expanded my abilities with some extra dungeon floors underneath things. And those 3 encounters, builds, all kind of worked together to make, an area of the story that I needed. Of gathering together in a town, venturing up the mountain and into the caverns and temple within for the druid that they met in the town to get their power. Really, the whole party gets a level, but I themed it to the druid. It can be whatever. That temple inside of mountain thing, and just like the way that you transition up using the different cave cliffs and trifecta matching bits to get just the right height to set train tray over top of the dungeon. And I just used the bottomless pit terrain tray so that it would be black in that hole. Makes things easy. And that's, it's like, oh, how deep is it? Really just that same height difference to get down to the dungeon? Maybe. I described it like it's like a 40-foot drop or something like that, where they had to use a rope and tie it around that stalagmite that's right next to it. So they tied it around there and were able to lower themselves down. Yeah, just sort of temple inside of cavern. Different ways to kind of make it where, like, they couldn't really, with all of the fog of war. I just have whatever it's packing material that the table itself was delivered with, and I've cut it up. But really, it's just bits of thin fabric that let me fog of war and hide things. And you couldn't really even tell that it was dungeon within until after things were revealed. When the table came off, it just looked like cavern with secret caverns beyond. So from just sort of rural city builds or whatever, to more mountainous and cavern and dungeon, we got a few builds. Let me know some of your thoughts. I will ideally continue to bring more of these. I'm going to keep having to come up with cool builds to impress my players and make the story go forward. And so might as well share them with you here. So like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.